Hi guys, Claudia Boleyn here. Hopefully the light's not going to change too drastically. It's a weird time of the day to make this. So this is just like a catch-up vlog again, just to see how you guys are and to tell you how I am, and I want to try and do these more often. So a couple of things I wanted to say before we start. I've got my cup of tea here today because it might be a long one, so you might want to go and like make a drink or a cup of tea or something. I don't know if you watch or listen to this, but it's a long one, just so you know. So just a couple of things. First of all, my website. I've got two websites. So one of them is for like music stuff, and the other one is for all different things. The other one's more for like writing, but also my music stuff's on there. I'm writing a blog now. So I'm going to try and update weekly. There'll be like political essays, fandom essays, critiques and stuff. It's just a place for my writing, poetry, mental health stuff, all those kind of things. You can get in touch with me via my website, because if you go to the link, I'll put the website in the description box, there's a contact form. So if you fill in a contact form, then you can get in touch with me and I will get back to you. So feel free to do that. I also have a Facebook page now. Like, I don't really use Facebook, to be honest, but it's like an official page where I'll post like blog posts and videos and things like that. If you're on Facebook, I don't really use it much, but you can also contact me there. Also, as I've said so many times before, my new PO box is open, and thank you to everyone who's written to me. And I've written back to quite a few people now, and I'm still like going through writing back to people. But if you would like to write me a letter or send something to my PO box, if you want me to write back to you, you need to send an envelope with a stamp on it and your address so that I can get that back to you. But I will reply if you so wish. You might want to get in touch and you don't need me to reply, like, but yeah, if you want me to, I will do that. So you will receive something from me, and it shouldn't take too long to get them done. So yeah, this is going to be like a chatty video that like goes over absolutely everything. There's so many things that I want to say, and sometimes I find it easier to write blog posts, like, because obviously I'm doing my masters at the moment in creative writing. I'm thinking about doing my PhD, so I would love to do that. So I'm thinking I'll probably end up doing that as well. But so sometimes I write stuff. I'm better at writing some things, but I wanted to like keep up a big presence on this channel. So also, if you have any ideas for anything political you'd like me to make here, any current topics, social justice topics, anything like that, fandom related stuff, put your suggestions here and I might make it if I if I'm in the right headspace to make it at the time. But I really appreciate your comments and your requests, etc. Oh, and also, sorry, I will put like in the in the description like when you can just skip to the actual content. But I suppose me talking is the content, I don't know. But I'm also doing more covers and stuff now, so I'm just mixing a cover at the moment, just some like acoustic home stuff kind of thing. And they'll go on my music channel, but I'll let you know when they're up. My music channel's in the description box because I am a musician, and I kind of sporadically post to there, but yeah, I'm going to do some acoustic covers. And also I take requests for covers, so let me know and I'll try and do it for you if you like. So something that I'm currently writing a piece on, and that I've been thinking a lot about recently, is I've been thinking about my grandmothers a lot. So my grandma Bibi, I told you about this before, 2 years ago, on January the 25th, my grandma Bibi passed away. My grandma Bibi is my grandma on my dad's side, so she's my Indian grandma, Punjabi. She speaks Punjabi, or she spoke Punjabi, and she was like a really big presence in our family. That I think a lot about culture and being between things and trying to find where I fit with my culture, because my mum and dad divorced when I was young. So I live with my English family and I didn't have a lot of contact with my dad and his family during that time. Although I grew up as part of a big Punjabi family, so a big Sikh Punjabi family. Although not everyone on that side of the family is like religious, but you know, that was the kind of thing. So events would be at the Gurdwara, you know, like Indian weddings, all that kind of thing. And when I was younger I understood some Punjabi, I'm told, but then obviously I was 3.5 when my mum and dad split up, and then I stopped understanding Punjabi, so there was always a bit of a language barrier between me and my grandma Bibi. But yeah, she was an incredible woman, and I'm trying to write a blog post, I guess, about what she meant and what my grandmothers both mean to me, especially when we look back, you know, because I think about things from a feminist lens a lot, and I think about the fact that in my life both of my grandmothers are incredibly powerful women who are both the absolute centre and nucleus of their families. With my grandma Bibi, whenever you would go to one of my family's houses, Grandma Bibi would be there like the queen, because wherever she was, you'd go into the house and the first person you'd greet would be Grandma Bibi. And she never once seemed like she didn't want to see you, like even if she was tired or she was ill. She was like the queen, like so respected, and she did it in a way where she never it wasn't like she demanded respect, you know, she was gentle, very gentle and very loving. And so youthful as well, you know, until the day she died she had this dark hair And all the gatherings, like the Indian gatherings, she'd dance. She's a very vibrant person. I always think about her with a lot of movement. I danced when I was younger, and I tie that to both my grandmothers, because it was my English grandma who actually paid for me to do dance lessons, because she wanted to be a ballerina and she wasn't, and I love dancing, and I think part of my dancing actually comes from my grandma Bibi and that side of the family. There's a lot of movement and dancing on that side of the family, and like confidence, and my other side of the family are not so dancey, maybe, but I am, and Dan is as well. And I've just been thinking about my grandmother a lot, and thinking about my grandma Bibi, and I felt at some points, distant from her because of the the literal distance and the language difference. And she had this skill where she had so many grandchildren and great grandchildren. I can't even tell you, the most massive Indian family, and the way she navigated it, and she kind of steered it as this presence. You just felt this presence around her that I can't really explain. And I actually have I have this here. I kind of had this around me on the 25th. So this is like a kind of, it's just a pink scarf that all the granddaughters, we all wore this. So there were so many people that it was just before COVID when she died. So many people were there. Honestly, I can't even tell you like the amount of people that paid their respects to her. People were queuing. People were queuing outside the Gurdwara to like say goodbye to her. Like, we were going to be late for the crematorium spot because so many people came. It really was like the death of a famous, like a queen, like, the respect. It was, I'd never experienced anything like that before. Especially because also on the white side of my family as well, it's very different culturally. It's much quieter, and it's much, the love is expressed differently, in a more kind of traditionally, British stiff upper lip kind of thing, very quiet and solemn. Very different on the other side of the family, a great outpouring of very, very obvious and deep love that exists on both sides of my family, but obviously it's expressed differently. And that's a part of Dan and I both, we have elements of both, so it's strange going between. But we had all the granddaughters, so you could see us all. There's a lot of footage from that day that I've been asked to put into sequence because of my video editing, so I'm going to try and do that. And watching the footage back is strange, really, because when you see us all, we didn't really think about the fact it was being filmed. I don't know who really filmed it. Obviously, it's such a big Indian family that the idea is to make sure that it's marked, and that people, for example, in India and things, will be able to see it. And I watched it, and as I saw us kind of in our pink scarves, especially the girls, you could really see the similarity in our faces. Something about, for some reason, it's something about the eyes and the eyelashes. I don't know why that is. It's a certain angle of the face, and the dark eyelashes, and the kind of shape of the eyes. I think most of my cousins, we all kind of have that in common. And to see that was very special. To feel part of that, and to have, the Indian features that obviously I don't really necessarily look like the white side of my family very much. Everyone thinks I look like my dad. I do look like my dad, but I also look like my aunties, my Indian aunties. I look like both of them quite a lot. One of my aunties in particular. And like some of my cousins I look a lot like, I think. And it's just nice to be among people that, to see that. It's very moving, to see the similarity, and to think that it's all come from this one person and this one family, and it's just, yeah. So I'm thinking about that a lot, and I'm thinking about my grandmothers a lot, and how powerful they are, and how powerful they were. Well, my English grandmother is thankfully still with us. I'm very close with her. I've spoken about her before. So my English grandma is like the head of our English family kind of thing, and socialist. We're very close, my grandma and I. We have a very special relationship. We're both very outspoken women, and I admire that a lot in her. So I feel like both of my grandmothers have had like a big presence in my life, even though Grandma Bibi wasn't always a direct presence. The presence that I feel, and that I still feel to this day from her, is very strong. Very, very strong indeed. And I often feel like, I do often feel like she's with me sometimes. And it sounds silly, really, because I didn't have as close of a relationship with her as many of my other cousins. So it's a different form of grieving, it's almost thinking about, the things that you wish had been different, or the relationship you might have had. and it's gratefulness and always the love that was very eternal. It taught me something about even physical distance, to always be in her thoughts, to go to her house. She had the most amazing house. It reminds me of the Amy Pond house in Doctor Who. It's like, it looks, from the front, it looks small and thin. And then you go in and there's so many rooms, and it fascinated me as a child. And she'd always be in there, if you came to visit her, you know, no matter what she was doing, you know, she's obviously like doing a lot of stuff, you know, herself. She'd be sewing, and, you know, she had this sewing machine, and that's how I remember her a lot. But you'd go around there, and no matter what she was doing, it would be like, right, I'm going to make you roti, I'm going to make you sarg. She knew that sarg was my favourite. It's been my favourite since I was little. She always used to make sarg for me. I don't know, I really admire that, all those people to remember, and everyone felt so loved, I think. Well, I did from a distance. I felt very loved. Never really felt like there'd been distance when we saw her, despite the barrier of language. It never really felt like a distance, I don't think. So she's very special to me. Yeah, that meant a lot. She's a very important presence and woman, and I'm basically collecting all my memories and thoughts, I guess, and writing them down, and at some point it'll probably go into a blog post. But yeah, so my grandmothers on both sides are very important to me. And my English grandma is so precious to me. We have a very strong relationship. I think in some ways I'm quite a lot like her, and my English grandma, you know, lived a totally different life. You know, my two grandmas lived these insanely different lives at that time in history, where obviously my grandma and her family came, my Indian grandma and family and my dad came over from India, from the Punjab, and it's still quite miraculous to me that, you know, my mum and dad met and got together, because I know it seems normal to us now, as it should, but, you know, in other generations that was more rare. It feels wonderful to be part of that, you know, having both of those aspects to my family. And there's all sorts of aspects to my family. I mean, we've got a Jewish line in my family through my English family, which I believe tied to, I think our family were Polish Jews. We've got different family in Israel, etc. Our big Indian family did this thing on the WhatsApp not recently, but a while ago, where we were thinking about all the different ethnicities and races and cultures and stuff that have come together in the modern family, and it's wonderful. It's like a bit of everything. The camera just died. I hope it didn't cut out too much. I hope not. But yeah, so you know, we've got like a very big mixed family, and to be part of that, I mean, I think I was the first in my Indian family. I was the first, and actually in my English family too, I think, the first mixed child, Indian and English. So yeah, a bit of a trendsetter. So that's really great. But to think about, you know, the differences in the lives that my grandmothers lived, you know. My grandma Bibi lived in the Punjab during partition. She was a teenager in partition. You know, and what she knew, she came over here, the matriarch of the family. My grandfather, my Indian grandfather, passed, and she was on her own. And the power of her, you know, she's very petite. I'm very petite as well, so I don't know if you can tell in these videos, but I'm very short. Both my grandmothers are very tiny. I think I'm like 5'1", maybe that's exaggerating. Maybe I'm 5 foot. I don't know. Both my grandmothers are very petite, and to have that, you know, that power and resilience in them, and I try and like hold on to that. And I do think about my grandma Bibi a lot when I struggle with different things, mental health issues and kind of things. And I think, well, my grandma Bibi could do it. And I know she's with me. I absolutely know she's with me, and I feel like I've felt her at different times since she passed. And I don't think I necessarily believed in that stuff until that. And then after that, the strangest things happened. And I feel like she was. I do feel like she was there. I do feel that. And I think you know, the respect that she had from my English family. My English grandma, you know, the other day, always, they always speak so well. All the time growing up, things were quite complicated and complex, and not ideal really during that whole situation. I've spoken about that way too many times on this channel, and maybe one day I'll speak about it more. Things were not ideal in various ways, but I do know that in the midst of things when they were really bad, never a bad word said by anybody about my grandma Bibi. Absolute respect. Mum would always always spoke about her with the utmost respect, complete love. You know, I always grew up kind of knowing she was this incredible person. And same with my grandma on the other side. You know, she would say, you know, absolutely nothing but respect for my grandma Bibi, who was the head of a family which was mostly made up of boys. I've got 2 aunties. She had 2 daughters. And but mostly she had boys. So you can imagine, you know, the strength that she had. And I don't know, some of my best memories, just funny things really, when I think about my dad in the lineup. My dad's kind of, I think he's in the middle of the lineup, and my dad was like the cheeky one, and my dad's very charismatic, and he's a bit like, he and Dan have a lot of that stuff in common, where they're kind of showmen and can make everyone in the room laugh. They're very witty, very instant intelligence, and push a lot of boundaries, and aren't a fan of rules necessarily, and, you know, push back. People have called Dan before. I remember someone referred to Dan as unrestrainable, and it's true, and it's the same with my dad. They both are like that. And I know that Dad was kind of, I remember one time he was supposed to be saying something really serious to her. We'd gone round there. She sits there very patiently, and he won't stop making jokes. My dad's awful for this, because he tells you a story and you'll think he's telling you a serious story, and you'll get 3/4 of the way in and you're very invested, and it's all for a punchline. You realise at the end. And she said to him, what was it she said? One of my oldest cousin, I think, translated it. She said something like, oh, like, will you ever be serious? Like, at any point, will you ever be serious? And it was so funny. And that's why I don't want to stop talking about, you know, being half Indian and trying to, in my whole life, I guess, like, reconnect with the culture and what that means and how I feel and being mixed. Because it's a gift. You know, when I was younger, I wouldn't have had anywhere near the racism that I'm sure my cousins must have dealt with, because I live with my white family and people didn't necessarily realise I was half Indian. They would think I was mixed, but they wouldn't know how. But it was usually that when they would realise. So I remember at school, in junior school, we had this lovely little Indian lady that came in, but I think they thought I was Sikh because my dad's family was Sikh, but actually I was brought up with no religion at all, so we were atheists. We always had been atheists. I'm not an atheist now, but I was brought up as an atheist. But because I was half Indian and they knew that, me and one of my friends, who I'm still friends with now, who's also Indian, we got taken out to talk about, you know, Sita and Rama, and we'd do a speech, like a Diwali speech, and we'd do an assembly thing. And I remember kind of like enjoying it, but thinking, I don't know what I'm talking about, like, I don't know. So we'd go and do that, and I didn't really understand any of it, really. And I do remember after that, I think that was the first time I ever really noticed racism directed at myself. It was after doing that. You know, when you're a child, you don't really conceive of racism if you're lucky enough to, you know, if you're a person of colour who isn't white passing, I'm sure you perceive of it earlier. But obviously I wasn't. And I think that was the time when the connection was made by people that, oh wait, Claudia's Indian. And I remember that day in the playground, the first, I think it was just after assembly, we went out, and a boy came up to me who had been my friend, not a bad person, of course, but, you know, when you're in junior school, you know, you're all friends with each other. I was anyway, like, I was friends with the boys and the girls, I got on with loads of people at school, and I remember him coming up to me, and I remember him saying, the Peasler, and he said, you're a Peasler, and sorry about the light, they're helping me through. And I remember at the time, I hadn't heard the word before, and I got the impression it was something bad. And I felt bad. I felt sick, you know. I felt like this weird feeling of, I don't know why, something's changed, I don't know why, and it feels weird, and why is he talking to me like that, and I don't get it. And I was like naive, and I just kind of like laughed. I was like, you know, like laughed it off like it's just a joke. And a couple more things like that, you know, over the years. Nothing extreme, but, you know, those little things. And the embarrassment and the feeling of there's the thing about racism which is horrible, and again, like, you know, I don't get racism as much as people who are obviously people of colour, you know, I don't get that sort of racism, but, you know, the feeling of, there's nothing like, this is me, this is who I am, this is my genetic, this is my makeup, this is my race. I'm lesser to you because of it, and there's nothing I can do about it. You knew me before, and now it's changed. That feeling's hard. And it's, again, that's minor. That's nothing compared to, you know, that's really nothing. I'm not trying to say, oh, it's like the worst racism in the world, but, you know, little things like that. Being mixed in that generation when it was not that common, but starting to be common, thankfully, that more people are mixed. And I think that I did for a while, I hated my Indian features for a while. Not because of a conscious racism, but because of beauty ideals. You know, you read, you're a little kid and you're reading girly magazines and stuff, and you're looking at them, and I'm thinking, this sorry for this light, like, I don't know if it's like giving me help while I read this, but it's fine, I'm fine, I don't need it. I'm okay, but thank you. But I know that I struggled with that kind of thing, and again, it's I'm quite white passing. I really am. Less so when I was younger. For some reason when I was younger, I don't know why this is, I think this is the case for a lot of people actually. When I was younger I was more dark skinned, and I also, when I was younger, had this very curly dark hair. And now my hair's kind of straight, and I've become paler for some reason. I was darker when I was younger, which is interesting when I look back at old photos, because it's like, yeah, I actually looked much more Indian then, and now I don't look so Indian, I don't think. But I do remember feeling different, and knowing that I looked a bit different, and just very small thing really. And I connected very much to Anne Boleyn when I was younger, because something that hit me about Anne was the fact that she was the Tudor beauty was, at that time, would have been like, you know, fair haired, more voluptuous, blonde, blue eyes, and Anne was this thin, considered elegant, not necessarily traditionally beautiful, but with dark hair, dark eyes, especially the dark eyes they focused on, and how she was seen as different. You know, she would have probably had a darker complexion, and that was one of the things I remember when I was younger, thinking about Anne and thinking, oh, I kind of get that. Yeah, I feel that. And I will make a video at some point about me and Anne Boleyn, I guess. I watched Spencer recently, and I'm making a review of that soon. I've got an assignment due for my masters, so I can't do that this week, but probably next week I'll record that, because I've got so much to say about that film, and what an experience that was. Absolutely fascinating, brilliant at times, and yeah, I look forward to reviewing that actually. The connection in that between Anne Boleyn and Princess Diana was stunning to me, because I also connect them. I'll talk more about that in another video, that's not what you're here for, but you know, the feeling of being a bit of an outsider. Having a lot of privilege though, you know, not being, you know, a flat out outsider, but it's almost like being half accepted. That kind of thing, you know. I can kind of exist in this space, but when I'm acting like the people in this space, and yet when I am myself, when I reveal that other part of myself, whatever that is, that's what they'll use to get me. That feeling, I guess. I'll talk more about that in other videos, and that's not really for here. Sorry if the light changed again, I just put some more hot in my tea. But yeah, so when I was younger I used to dislike my Indian features, and I kind of, you know, I tried to be the English Rose and all that kind of thing. And but now I'm older, my eyes, which definitely come from my dad's side of the family there, you can see these same eyes in so many people in our family. Sometimes I look at photographs of Dad or my cousins, and I do a double take sometimes if I'm not wearing my glasses, because I think, oh, that looks like me. And especially some of my cousins' kids as well. You know, there's a very specific look, and I'd never really known how good that feels. You know, I don't know. It's nice. I like to be part of a big family. I personally really love that. I feel very lucky to have so many cousins. Like, I've got so many cousins and so many aunts, so many uncles. And obviously, unfortunately, when I was growing up, you know, the worst luck was that obviously the one, you know, aunt and uncle I did see were actually not very nice and quite unkind. But you know, the gift of in later life reconnecting with my other aunts and uncles on the other side, and you know, easy love, you know, just like a new experience. You know, having not seen them for so long, and me being nervous and sometimes thinking, oh God, like, I want to impress them, and what if they don't like me, and what if they hate me, and do I have to act? And it's a different, it's very, I'm still learning, really. It's strange. I guess I come across as very anxious and on edge sometimes when I'm with my Indian family. I think it's because I'm always preempting badness. I'm always preempting something bad, judgment and all those kind of things that I would have had in the past from the other side. And it never comes, and I'm gradually becoming more and more comfortable. But I know I still come across like, I don't know if you watch Stathlets Flats, and sometimes I think I come across like cousin, like Al. I say cousin there because it also reminds me of cousin Greg from Succession. I'm watching Succession at the moment. I know I'm always like way too polite. I know that's not a bad thing, but I'm always like, oh sorry, hello, like, ooh. And I know I like, yeah, I'm kind of getting past that. But I guess I just got so many nerves attached to it because of the other side, you know, other stuff in the family where stuff could be quite bad and quite abusive at times, and this is different, and I'm still getting used to it, and I feel like Grandma Booby's with me every time I do get used to it, and every time I do something, and I come away from it, and I'm like, why was I so nervous? Like, that's an old nervousness from the past, like, that's not now, you know, it's fine, and I always feel better afterwards, but I do get nervous before, and I know it's hard because obviously having the mental health issues I do, and also trauma background and stuff like that, I sometimes know, oh, I went into the total darkness there. I know that it's hard to get people to understand, and I don't want to like get into it. And a big thing that Indian families do is incredible hosting. Like, you know, you go to someone's house and they'll cook you something, you know, they'll feed you. And it's almost rude if you don't, you know, if you don't accept. And obviously with my anxiety, it's really hard. Because I love the food so much, but also like I get so nervous. You know, I've got a lot of anxiety and stuff, so I'm kind of getting past that right now. And Dad's helping me with that, and I'm just trying my best to to get better at that kind of thing and be less nervous and that kind of thing. It's just a hard transition, you know, to go from one thing to the other, and still to feel safe like that is something I'm learning, I guess. Yeah, it's a gift, and it's still ongoing after Grandma Bibi passed. And she gifted me with that family. She gifted me with that, and I'll always have it for the rest of my life. All my cousins, aunts and my uncles, and my cousins have had babies and things, and it's a gift, a real gift. I'm grateful for it every day. So that's really good. But yeah, speaking of grandmas, so my other grandma, so my English grandma, I've said before, we're very, very close. We've been very close all our lives, I think. We're similar in a lot of ways, I think. And for example, like my grandma she's very academic, but like to do with like English language, English lit, all that kind of stuff. So we have a lot in common in that way. She's very into that stuff, and very, very switched on, very intelligent, interested in politics. I not to diagnose anybody, but I personally feel like perhaps maybe an ADHD case like myself. Not in a bad way, but and my dad too, actually, which is interesting. You know, a lot of energy, a lot of doing things, getting things done. Grandma's the great organizer. You know, Grandma is, you know, always on the go, forever, never settled. Very like sort this out. A very, very powerful force. I did my Open University course because it was Grandma who said to me about it. She said, have you thought about doing Open University? And at the time I thought, oh gosh, I was so ill then, and I was so, you know what it's like after you've had a breakdown, I was so depressed, and I thought, I'll never do anything, and I'll probably be dead, and all that kind of stuff. But you know, that, she helped me to do my course, to make me feel like I could do it, and that was the thing that could happen, and in terms of my graduation, so it's been weird because I should have had my graduation last year, but because of COVID, the graduation ceremony was like, they kind of didn't do it. So it's a bit up in the air now because obviously I want to go to my graduation. I've spoken to the Open University as well, and they're really great because obviously I can't travel by myself. Like, I need someone who would act in the role of a carer for me which is so frustrating at my age. I'm 27, but, you know, I'm getting used to it. So they would provide Dan, I'd be able to go with Dan. And I mean, to be honest, I don't even know if I would be well enough to do it on the actual day. It very much depends with me. I find that very, very, very rough. Very hard indeed. But I would like to go to my graduation. And I'm still hoping that it will go ahead. Because it would just be really nice to go to my graduation and to have... Dan would obviously be with me. He would sit with me. If I ever have to travel for something that's really important, like medical related or something like that, then Dan will do that for me. He's great. But to have my mum, my grandma and granddad there, and also my dad in one place, and to know that I've done this thing, like I've got my degree, like I got first, and that was me. Like, I don't know. It's nice when you've had mental health issues for so long. Because sometimes you get into the state where you think, oh God, I can't do anything. And then that, you know, in therapy at the moment, thinking about that makes me feel good, because it's like, well, that's something I have done. My work, I'm good at it. And obviously I'm doing my master's now. I'd like to do a PhD, but I don't know. I guess it depends what happens in the next couple of years. I have a novel which is, first draft is completely finished. Had some new ideas recently, actually, so the second draft might make a few tweaks, but got a novel ready to go, more or less. I don't know, it just made me feel like I can do it. And thinking about my grandmothers, it's like, well, look what they did. Both of them, what they achieved. And my mum's a very strong woman as well. I'm specifically talking about grandmothers because it's remarkable when you look back. I mean, Grandma Bibi was a teenager in partition. You think about partition and you think so long ago, but it wasn't. You know, and you've got my English grandma, who really, really ought to have gone to university because she's so bright, so clever. And she brought up her kids, and, you know, she like me, what we have in common is she had both her kids at home, but she became a teacher. And so she did like a course, you know, in her own time. So she'd not only be doing the mother thing, but she'd also be studying in her own time. Studying, getting what she needed, sorting things out. That part of me comes from my grandma, for sure. Absolutely. That feeling of, I know I've been referred to before in a good and bad ways as being quite relentless after a goal, you know, if I really care about something. And that does come from her. It's that same feeling of, if I fix on something that I really, really want to happen, I will work really hard. Like, I will work really hard. And I think there's a preconception as well with people who have mental health issues in different ways that, oh, you know, being lazy, etc., etc. But actually, and this is not the video for this, but I'll talk about this in another video. It's even more of an achievement sometimes, because you think, when you get there, the feeling of pride, because you think, gosh, those obstacles that I had as well, and I worked really hard, and I had bad days, and some things were different. But then when you get there, I can't tell you, the feeling when I got my degree, when I got the first. And it's not about, you know, I don't necessarily think that having a degree makes you smarter or anything like that. It's very much down to circumstances. But the achievement for me was that this was something that I had carried through to conclusion, was mine. I had done this. I had worked really, really hard. And I actually have my BA on my Twitter. You'll notice it says Claudia Boleyn BA, socialist, of course. And from time to time, you'll get people pop up on Twitter. The good thing about Twitter is that you have, you know, you can have access to the most amazing people and talk to them and hear their ideas. It's great. You also get people who obviously disagree with your political point, and then they kind of come at you and that kind of thing. Which in some ways is fine. Like, if you're making a political point and they disagree, that's fine. I also, like, I don't mind that really. But sometimes I know, I think it was a writer for The Spectator or something, said something like, replied to something with a, BA, like, they're so rare, why would you put BA in your description, kind of thing. And actually it's I guess I feel so proud. I feel so proud of it because when I was a teenager, I didn't go to university because I had a breakdown. I was far, far, far too ill. Planning my own suicide. Didn't imagine myself getting to age 20. Certainly not. And I don't just say it to be dramatic. I really didn't. I couldn't have imagined being here today. I really never thought I would be. I never planned beyond maybe 18, 17, because I thought I'd be dead, and I never thought there'd be another way. I just thought that was it. And then to realise, wait, there's more. I'm still here, and maybe there's hope, and to do that, and to be at the end of it, and to think, I did that. Like, I did my degree, and I got a first, and I was dealing with all that different stuff. And you know what? I can do this. I can do this. And that's why it's there, because it reminds me sometimes when I'm low and I think, you know, I'm different to other people my age. You know, there's so many things I can't do because of my disability. I used to be so harsh on myself about that stuff. I'm not so much now. And then I look at that and I think, well, look what you did. You can do, like, you did that. You can do anything, girl. Like, you keep going. You keep going. So it feels really good. And that's, you know, following in my grandma's footsteps, really. We're very similar in that regard. And actually, I have to show you something. So I have to show you, my grandma and granddad got me some earrings recently. And they're so nice. Like, I don't usually, like, show off things, etc. But my grandma and granddad, like, we're really close, and we have this kind of relationship where, like, I will just get them little things and they'll get me little things all the time. They're so like amazingly generous. Like my Anne Boleyn stuff, I don't know if you can actually see them behind me at the moment, but they get me Anne Boleyn stuff all the time. So yeah, but there's these earrings, and I don't know if they'll be in focus. But there they are. And I'm right in the middle. Hello. Don't ask me why I just did that. That's so embarrassing. I'm trying to get them to focus, but they won't focus. Will you focus now? Okay, I can't make them focus, but they're real sterling silver. And they're really nice. Yeah, obviously it's been a hard year. It was a hard year last year. Because of all sorts of bad family stuff that went on. And it's all for the best, really, now. I always tend to think that in situations like that, if you just... I think about how if you just hold on to what you know and who you are, and you stay strong, and you try and be kind, and try and do what's right, and you keep that in your mind, and I try to keep that in my mind, and I mess up all the time, but I do try. I'm always trying to think like that. I think eventually, I do think, be that in immediately or later on, I think people show themselves. People show themselves, they give themselves away, they do that. And it's a comfort, because everything is all right in the end. Something that was so difficult for me last year with that whole situation. I mean, I've never been through anything like that before. Ever, really. And the fact that it's now over and things are better. Like, things are actually better than they were before. And I do believe, I have faith. I do have faith now. I'm not an atheist anymore, and I might make a video about that too. I don't know how to classify my faith. But I do have faith. I do believe in a God, or a force like God. I don't know how I'd classify it, really. I'm the strangest religious person, because I don't really like rules or obeying something because it's said in a book or something. You know, I'm almost like the religious person, I suppose, now. And everything is, at the time things were so awful, but now things are better. Things are actually better than before. Relationships are stronger. Love and tears and laughter and talking and being even closer. And at a time back then, I was in a state where I thought everything was lost, maybe, and you know, I might be lost, and everything was so scary. And it's not lost. It's better. It's stronger. It's more loving. It's more precious, and it means more to me that things are in the open. It's just better. So, I guess, to anyone else out there who follows me or followed me around that period, as a lot of people do, just try my advice if you need my advice. Not that I'd say follow my advice. It's just be as kind as you can, and be as honest as you can, and stick to what you believe in. And these people, they expose themselves, really. I believe these people always will. I think you see that in history too. And believe in the people you love, and hopefully everything will be okay. Things are much better for me now anyway. I feel so relieved. I feel better, lighter, happier, more connected to my family. Things are fixed now that never were fixed in the past. And I guess it's hopeful, and I'll make another video about that. But, you know, I do talk about trauma, dysfunction, past, abusive stuff. You know, I do talk about those things all the time, and I think about those dynamics. But I think what I have is a bit of a success story in some ways. That was hard at times, but it's just a relief and better. And I feel lighter and happier, more thankful, more connected to my family, and I don't know, I try to come at things with compassion. I try to challenge systems, not people. And again, that's why I'm watching Succession. I've got down into Succession recently. I love it. And it reminds me of almost like the Umbrella Academy and The Crown and Succession together are like this holy trinity of like dysfunctional family shows. And the interesting part is that I don't think necessarily, you obviously get rotten individuals in systems, of course. You get like, you know, like weird people. But generally a system is just a recycled thing. So I try and come at, in terms of politics too, I try to come at things like that. And then if at times I feel myself getting like too like black and white with stuff, you know, I step back a little and think about it like that. And Dan helps me with that a lot. And yeah, I just feel happier and stronger, and I didn't imagine that I would be able to feel happier and stronger now based on how I was feeling last year. And everything's good. Everything's going to be alright, I think. I feel grateful, happy, loved. I feel loving. And I guess to tie this video up, I feel more connected to my grandmothers, both of them, this year than any other year, bizarrely, because one of my grandmothers has passed. And I only now, it's strange, I feel closer to her than I ever have before, and closer to my English grandma too. Yeah. So, I don't know what I'll even title this. It just kind of went off on like a million tangents. But let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about. Happy to do that. I'm making blog posts a lot, so contact me on my website, on Twitter, here in the comments, anything really. And yeah, basically to anyone watching, I guess not to be too like annoyingly like peace and love and stuff, but that there's a lot of good in people, I think, and as long as you try and be kind, you try to be good, I think I have faith and hope that that's enough. I really do, actually. It's powerful, I guess. So yeah, I love you loads. And I'll see you really soon. Sorry for this totally rambling video which went nowhere, but I'm trying to keep up with vlogs, so sometimes I'll just be sitting here chatting away for ages. Yeah, I love you loads. I'll see you really soon, and get in touch if you want. You can write to me, you can send stuff to my PO box, and I will write back if you want me to. Alright, I love you so much. And thank you for listening to me ramble on and on about my life and family and feelings and stuff, but that's what I do. I'm a messy individual. I'm an emotionally messy individual. Alright, love you loads. I'll see you really soon. Bye.